I didn't know I was learning this lesson at the time. Most of the important lessons in life don't announce themselves. They don't come with flashing lights or loud alarms. They arrive quietly, disguised as frustration, impatience, or even certainty. Sometimes they hide in plain sight, wrapped in the ordinary, waiting for you to look closer. They are the moments when you feel like something is off, but you can't quite put your finger on it. When everything you thought you knew is suddenly questioned, and you are left wondering if the path you have been following is really the right one. And then, years later, when you least expect it, these lessons show up again, not as the frustrations you remember, but as understanding. They remind you how far you have come and how much you've changed in ways you never expected. They show you that everything you went through wasn't a mistake, but a lesson in disguise. It wasn't until much later that I realized these moments were trying to teach me something bigger than I understood at the time. For a long time, I believed my job was solid, not because anyone promised it to me forever, but because I had earned it, or so I thought. I did good work. I was dependable, always early, always prepared, always the one who stayed late to make sure the deck was perfect. I understood the culture, when to speak up, when to nod, when to let a decision pass like a slow-moving cloud. I mistakenly took consistency for security. But over the years, I watched entire departments vanish, not with a crash, but with a whisper. One quarter, they were essential. The next, they were optimized out. I remember a colleague, brilliant, kind, always the first to volunteer, walking out on a Monday with a cardboard box and a forced smile. Just days earlier, she'd led a standing room only session on client retention. By Monday, she was redundant. Not because she failed, but because the world shifted and the job couldn't move with it. I began to see that loyalty is a human instinct, but organizations, they're designed to adapt, not to remember. There was a night in late fall, rain streaking down the window of room 314. I had just finished a client workshop that went well, but I felt hollow. Back home, rumors swirled about another round of cuts. Instead of turning on the TV, I opened my laptop. Not to check email, but to begin a course on data storytelling. No one asked me to. No promotion depended on it. I remember the glow of the screen on the hotel desk, the hum of the mini fridge, the weight of the silence. In that moment, I wasn't learning for my job. I was learning for myself, and that made all the difference. Somewhere along the way, maybe after the third restructuring or the fourth strategic pivot, I stopped waiting for the system to protect me. Without announcing it to anyone, I began investing differently. I stopped learning only what the job required and started learning what I might need next. Not the flashiest trends, but the durable things, like how to analyze data beyond the dashboard, how to facilitate a room full of skeptics, how to write clearly when stakes were high. I studied and learned at night, after the dishes were done and the house was quiet, on weekends, with a notebook open on the kitchen table and a second cup of tea going cold, in hotel rooms across time zones, television off, laptop balanced on my knees, chasing fluency in tools no one had asked for, yet. No one applauded that work. No performance review mentioned it. And that turned out to be the point. Because when learning is invisible, it's yours alone. Not a line on a resume, but a quiet strength no layoff can erase. The value of those skills didn't show up with fanfare. It appeared slowly, almost invisibly, like roots growing underground. When a critical project stalled because the analytics team was overwhelmed, I stepped in, not as a hero, but as someone who could bridge the gap. When my role shifted from strategy to transformation, I didn't panic. I adapted because I'd already practiced thinking in systems, not just tasks. And then one day, when something ended unexpectedly, a merger, a leadership change, a quiet, we're going in a different direction decision, I realized I wasn't stranded. The job was gone, but I wasn't empty-handed. I still had my mind, my voice, my ability to learn, pivot, and begin again. Not from scratch, but from a foundation I had built myself, one quiet evening at a time. I finally understood this. Companies don't owe us permanence, and we don't owe them our entire identity. The only things that truly stayed with me through mergers, restructures, or market crashes were my skills, not the ones on my badge, not the ones in my email signature, but the ones that lived in how I thought, how I untangled a problem others called too messy, how I communicated clarity in chaos, and how I sat with uncertainty without rushing to fill it with noise. Careers borrow you for a season, for a project, for a chapter, but skills, they belong to you. Forever. Looking back, I see how quietly powerful that choice was. No one promoted me for learning ahead of time. No bonus was tied to those late nights. But it gave me something better than recognition. It gave me options. And options change how you walk into a room, even when no one knows why. You don't cling, you don't perform, you listen, you assess, and you choose. Now, in this post-corporate chapter, that same mindset serves me in new ways. I learn yoga not because it's useful, but because it teaches patience. I take long walks, not to optimize my health, but to reconnect with stillness. Because lifelong learning isn't just about staying relevant at work. It's about staying curious in life. And that, more than any title or tenure, is what lets me meet each morning with openness, not fear. This is another thread in the quiet tapestry of 42 years of work, not offered as advice, not wrapped in regret, not as a mistake I needed to undo, just shared as something that became clear once I stopped filling every silence and learned to listen to what remained.